Many Americans have a retirement spending problem, but it's not overspending. That's what I'm thinking about. Hey, before we jump into retirement spending, I wanted to remind folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, help other people find this content, or if you got this via email, forward it along to somebody you might find it interesting. We're trying to expand the reach of the What I'm Thinking series. And with that, let's jump into retirement spending. A few weeks back, I had published an episode, number 64, that talked about how people's perception of their readiness for retirement before they retire was not that high, but then in retirement, overwhelmingly, they had positive experiences on average, right? On average turned out much better than they thought it would be. And I was reading another article recently that made a similar thought. I just wanted to share it with you. It's from Morningstar. We'll put a link in the show notes, but Christine Benz writes a great column there. And one of the things she talked about was the increasingly we're seeing big inheritances come through, which is better to leave behind money than to run out of money, right? But the idea that you have a lot of money when your life is over might be an indication that you're not spending optimally during your lifetime. The 4% rule, a lot of us are familiar with that. When you retire, you can take out 4% of your portfolio, keep that up with inflation and never run out of money. They did a bunch of different analysis of that and found that on average, if you do that over a 30-year period, you end up with 50% more than you started with, or even more in some cases, right? And so, this idea of your nest egg growing over time, even when you're doing that safe spending route, ends up leaving behind, more than what you started with. And for most folks, that's what we hear is not the goal, is not to, leave a bunch of money behind to folks. Typically we'll hear people say, hey, if there's anything left behind, great, it goes to the kids or it goes to charity, but we want to take care of ourselves. And looking at that idea of, hey, on average, you see these things where it does grow, and we see it anecdotally too. So it's interesting that, we see folks that in your 50s and 60s, when you start to retire, it's scary. We're not going to earn a paycheck the rest of our lives. How do we make it to the end? And then even if we tell folks that, no, you're going to be just fine, it's hard to believe that internally, right? It's a scary thing. But then we see folks as they get to be 65, 70, 75, 80, where you go, oh, wait a minute, no, this is working out. We like to joke with clients, like they won't believe it, believe what we say for a while. And after a while, they go, oh yeah, we kind of believe this stuff, right? It's going to work out. And then it can be kind of shocking then to say, geez, we should be spending this much more money when we're in our 70s or in our 80s. And the idea of maybe flattening that out and maybe spending a little bit more in those early years of retirement might make some sense. So the takeaway, I'm always big on what are action items. And it's interesting for us that we see this in our practice. Now there's been studies that are showing that no, if you follow these rules, you're safe, you're conscientious, and, being prudent with your withdrawals, you're going to end up with a lot more money than you started with. And the takeaway then is not, go hog wild and spend all kinds of money when you first retire, but maybe be a little less nervous and a little less cautious, be willing to spend a little bit more in those early years. And then also have in your mind that, there's a good likelihood that in a few years, we're not going to have these fears, and don't have it be a surprise when you turn 75 or 80 that there's more zeros than you know what to do with in your portfolio. And just being prepared for that can be such a big help in a person's retirement planning. So that's what I'm thinking about. As always, interested to know what you're thinking about. Maybe you're later in that retirement journey and can share some of your experiences. Would love to hear what you have to say and what your actual experience has been. Or if you're earlier in that journey and have some of those fears, would love to hear what's on your mind with things. Jot a comment in the comment box if you're watching here on YouTube, or shoot me an email directly. And as always, thanks for watching.